Hi, folks. Welcome to today's Talk with Erika. Today's show comes with a graphic warning, and viewer discretion is advised. Today's episode aims at tougher animal cruelty penalties. In April 2025, Eric Roldan brutally beat a 10-week-old puppy named Sweet Pea in Suwannee County. This led to a fractured skull and brain swelling, to say the least. Well, she joins me today with Krystal Detty and her husband Brandon. They run Living Like Larry Farm Sanctuary, which I understand is about a cow that you own. And she has our strong, beautiful Sweet Pea. We also have Captain Jason Rountree with Live Oak Police and Paul Mueller, who has been a huge voice for Sweet Pea since her story has been known. Welcome to all of you. And Paul, I hope I didn't butcher your last name.
Right on the money. You did very well. The
Awesome.
most important name is Sweet Pea, so you're good. You're good.
There we go. This is a very tough one. I wanted to get the word out. I know that Krystal, her husband Brandon, Captain Rountree, and Paul, you've been a massive advocate for this, and so many people have, because what happened to her is just disgusting.
Yeah.
And we need tougher penalties out there. So I do want to speak with all of you, but I want to start with Captain Rountree, because as I understand it, you were one of the first responders in the sense of handling a certain case in the vicinity of what happened to Sweet Pea.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
you can take it from there if you'd like.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. So it's important to begin the story to know a little bit of foundational background. Krystal and Brandon and I met when I was campaigning for sheriff in this last term for our county. Some of the ideas and concepts that was being built into that campaign led me to not-for-profit animal rescues and those that were working in the industry in this area. I'd recognized over time the tremendous amount of resources that those of us in law enforcement or in the enforcement side of the industry were really ignorant to, and what they brought to the table. So that's important for what follows, because it built a foundation of familiarity over time that absolutely pushed us to a simple phone call that unfolded everything after that. We had some officers in the area of the north end of Live Oak, what we call the north end area, in a area of that portion of town that is somewhat high crime, high drug, attracted to homeless in this particular location. And they had dealt with some trespassers in and around the area earlier, some of the same individuals that later came up in this call. On a second and subsequent call later in the day to animal cruelty, officers arrived on scene and found this adorable thing at a much smaller size and weight, much smaller size and weight, a puppy, very tiny, in deplorable conditions with obvious and very, very obvious signs of cruelty and abuse, and hanging by a thread to life. So those officers reached out and contacted me to let me know the call, the conditions of the call, what was going on. And it's important for people to know in this part of the conversation that our typical response to this situation would have been, for the benefit of the animal, would have been immediate destruction. She was in very terrible conditions, suffering tremendously. And but because of the relationship that we had built and some of the eye-opening conversations that Krystal and Brandon and others in this industry had with me, I instructed them to respond to the nearest animal clinic that would take Sweet Pea. We actually have one that was about to close, and by their grace accepted Sweet Pea in. And I made a phone call to Krystal. The conversation originally with she and I both was her realization that the likely circumstances for the puppy would be destruction or
you said that you said I don't think she's going to make it.
Yeah,
but maybe.
So euthanasia was certainly something that was already considered. We conversed back and forth. In the time that it took me to call my officers back and have a conversation with them, she showed up at this animal clinic, and then, man, I love to talk about this part, but really it's her story from there. She went right to work with her resources and individuals that they have in their pantry of help, and man, people just jumped all over getting her help. She was immediately transported from she was given some life stability in the location that she had locally, and they were tremendous help in that. And then later, Krystal was able to get some resources, get her down to Oviedo and some other places that stepped into the more major.
That's amazing. And I mean, Krystal's story, when you describe in detail what you went through once she was in your hands, is just, I mean, there are no words. It's overwhelming. Listening to this, I couldn't even handle it the other evening. Please explain to me once, Captain Rountree, please explain to me, once you had gone to pick up Sweet Pea, just what happened from there. You had to go from animal hospital to animal hospital to animal hospital for all of the different surgeries that she needed. Why don't you go into explaining how this monster, first of all, did this to her? Let's go there, because this isn't just, oops, he tripped over her.
Yeah. So, and keep in mind, my job requires that I address this from a innocent till proven guilty ideology, at least. So I'm going to be factual in my account that I give you, and I just don't want that to be mistaken for the emotion behind it for me. So, yeah, essentially the facts in hand at that time, where we had an eyewitness, which is a very important and relevant piece of this, an eyewitness to the events, and of course. So in the scope of law enforcement, what we're looking for in the triangle of evidence is, those factual pieces, those tangible things that we can point to and hold on to, by analogy, a smoking gun, for instance. And then, of course, what people see, the events that they say they can attest to, and how those things line up with the evidence that we're seeing. And then, the opportunity. So the area and the individual that's accused, what's the opportunity for them to have committed those things. So taking all those things into account, an eyewitness to the event described some horrible brutality of this dog, things like the dog being kicked, wrapped in a blanket, smashed across a tree while wrapped in the blanket, thrown on the ground, left encased, the whining and moaning of the dog described, and then discarded and left. So
in a tote, wasn't she placed in a blanket in a tote?
Yeah. So a couple of different things with that. So obviously animal cruelty is a concern, but oftentimes other criminal activity denotes or is likely to provide an outlet for things of equal or more grotesque nature. So animal cruelty can be symbolic of something else on the way. So of course we're in a heightened sense of alert for this individual and the information that we have. We immediately went into a preparation for trying to locate, find, and arrest. And in this case, fortunately, we were able to do that some way across town within a short period of time. We developed the suspect. His identity was known to us. He's familiar to law enforcement, multiple arrests in history and in his background. And we located that individual in a local business. We're able to take him into custody and place him under arrest and provide him before the public to the courts.
You're under arrest. Don't fight. You're under arrest. You're under arrest. Don't move.
Why, sir? I do nothing, sir.
Animal cruelty.
No, sir. You said what, sir? For what?
Animal cruelty.
For what, sir?
Animal cruelty.
My animal got food, sir. Si mi animales tienen comida, sir. Pero actually people right here, sir.
Stop.
They're lying.
Put your chest on the car.
Actually people, sir.
Go ahead and search them.
They're lying, sir. Actually people, sir. Sir, my puppy, sir.
Have a seat.
I'm sorry, you don't do nothing, sir.
Get your feet in.
Yes, sir.
Get your foot in.
Who trying to
Hey, get your foot in.
Sir. Get your feet in. I didn't do nothing, sir.
We've got a bigger female there. They're going to see if they have cardboard box down there. There's 3 puppies and 2 bigger ones. I'm going to put this one in the car real quick.
Okay. All right, take the puppies to the car. Puppies all the way through.
She's spinning.
Yeah.
Come on, Mama. Come on.
Good girl.
Um, it's the best that the law can do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, to some degree.
I don't
It's
know what to say to
also
that.
an awareness. Yeah, well, I mean, of course, we want to bring that person who commits the offense to justice with all the information that's possible for the courts and those who the citizenry that works on behalf of the courts as a jury to make a good and outstanding decision in that case. This is the other part of our place, right? So we are in the business of the law, but we're also in the business of a better community. And I think that's my sorry, it is an emotional topic. My favorite part of this, of course, in law enforcement, the win and bringing this person to justice is a great thing for us. This is better. The fact that we were able to reach out to a community partner, find a success for life for Sweet Pea, and then a life well lived. Yeah, good point, Brandon. And then all of the community that's come together around this has been absolutely amazing.
Right.
And honestly, in the nature of what I began by saying that we were forming a relationship through an interest politically initially, all of the future hope that I see in that as well, because I have a perspective now that is just far beyond what I had this time last year. So, that's a tremendous benefit to us in law enforcement as well. So
Exactly. I don't know if you can touch upon this then, but I know that Krystal and I, when we were having a pre-interview discussion, we were talking about people have been advocating for tougher animal cruelty penalties for years. But what happens when the law doesn't uphold the law? Governor DeSantis has put many laws into effect. If they're not done with anything, then what happens?
yeah, so in any type of law or legislative situation, if you don't pursue it or give it teeth, it dies on the vine. And so I would be in agreement with you. There's certainly we call them hot button topics. Things like murder, rape, DUI, different things that have gotten um, loud and squeaky attention over the years, are things that push the paradigm forward, so to speak. That's always important in a situation like this. So one of the things that, in talking to you and Paul, that's recognizable is that the voice of advocacy is a little bit louder. It's important that that voice stay clear, and people are capable of hearing it too, because one of the things that can happen is it becomes so obnoxious that it gets tuned out. So one of the things I'm seeing that I'm grateful, especially to Krystal and Brandon and those that are involved in her organization, is they are bringing an attention to this that pushes the paradigm of tougher legislation in these areas forward, and that's important. It is a cultural thing. So the culture of how we respond to animal issues in this location versus, say, where my stepbrother lives in Portland, Oregon, tremendously different, right? So there's certain cultural barriers that you have to get over. And then, like Krystal and Brandon and I have talked about in the past, while there are certain legislative and law enforcement toughness that we need to take from our end of the spectrum, there's also things that we can do in our community to bring our ideology closer to home on animal care, from spay, neuter, and chip programs as well. So there's a whole aspect to that. But yes, I would 100% agree with you. We have laws on the books. We don't necessarily need new laws on the books. We need to start pursuing with a vengeance the ones that we do currently have for the sake of animal protection and animal cruelty opposition.
Erika,
Absolutely.
just had that discussion. We just had that discussion.
There are certain things that you have to take into consideration from a law aspect too. Like it's easy to tell somebody how to play chess until you hit a board and start playing for yourself. But one of the difficulties in this situation is our victims don't tell us a lot, right? Sweet Pea can't talk for herself. So we depend, like in this case, we depended heavily on a witness who saw things and the evidence that we were able to collect. And then still we have the trial to go through and the hurdle of getting all of that presented in a way that a jury finds the charges appropriate and acceptable. So there are other challenges to this that do make it difficult. things like dog fights and chicken fights and the tight-lipped arenas that they're held in, and the requirement for our public to talk up. We're not there, and law enforcement has this old saying that we don't have crystal balls, and while that seems a little bit flippant, it does convey a message that, look, we need our partners in the community to step up and give us the information. Had it not been for this
100%.
eyewitness, this beautiful thing may have well been
Should have been that whole
gone. So
it would have been thrown in the dumpster and it would have been gone.
yeah.
Krystal, if you do want to take it from here on what poor Sweet Pea has been through.
So the stars lined up just right that afternoon. We live about 40 minutes from Live Oak. Our sanctuary is 40 minutes away. Had we been at the sanctuary, we would not have been there on time. We were in Live Oak actually when Captain Rountree called. We were about 5 minutes from All Springs Veterinarian. The amazing part about All Springs, which is where Officer Cottrell took her to, we have a volunteer that works at All Springs as a veterinary technician. So as soon as Captain Rountree said they're heading to All Springs, I immediately called our volunteer and said, "Are you at work?" She goes, "I am." I said, "Watch for that door to open. You're fixing to get the cops coming through with the dog. I'm on my way." We were what, 5 minutes?
Yeah,
5 minutes behind them.
Yeah.
And I walked in, and this puppy was just like, she was just quietly whimpering and then screaming.
Mm.
No. Huh.
Yep.
God sucked. So I said, sedate her. He said, "We can sedate her, but we might lose her." I said, "I don't care, sedate her." Because she was screaming in pain.
It's a tough one. That's God bless that you were even there and that you've endured as much as you have with her. So they did their first surgery that night, I presume?
No, she was so unstable. So we did a lot of drugs and knocked her out. And I honestly didn't expect her to wake up. I really didn't. And she didn't wake up for 11 days. So we sedated her. We did skull x-rays. And this part of her skull, like right here, was not only smashed in, but he had hit her twice. And when it smashed in, the second hit flipped it upside down. And when I saw that x-ray, I'm like, there's no way. That second hit that flipped it upside down provided an open fracture. That's what saved her life. That allowed the brain to swell and not be compressed. That's what saved her life, as an open fracture. And it took we got it through Avito, which is another rescue partner. Nikki owns Avito. She also owns Save a Life Rescue. I called Nikki. She said, "Get her down here," because I knew that Nikki would fight just as hard as us. So we got her down there. There was 3 other local ERs that would not see her. They were like, "Nope." They immediately said that's well beyond what we can handle. Everyone recommended euthanasia. I said, "We might as well try. I mean, she's not in pain. We've got her sedated." So we got her to Avito. That was April 1st. Well, March 31st, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, you didn't get there until almost 3 in the morning.
No, I got there about midnight.
About midnight?
Yeah, about midnight. I pulled in. I
Okay.
didn't leave till about 3 a.m. I didn't get home till about 6 a.m. Another piece that was really nice, actually. So the witness who came with the officer that witnessed the abuse, she kept saying, "There's 2 puppies. He's got the other one." And I had the foresight to say, "Sign a surrender form for Sweet Pea." I said, "Sign a second surrender form for the other puppy." Because when we find him, if that puppy's alive, I did not expect to find that other puppy alive. I said, "But if we do, I want her." So when they arrested, he had that other puppy still. That gave me rights to that other puppy. So the very next morning, once we got location of the other puppy, I was able to go in there and get the other puppy out of there as well. He's since then been adopted, and he's out of, I think he's still in the state, but he's nowhere near here. But she spent 11 days in a coma. And then on the night of the 11th, we ended up doing the surgery to put her, was it the Kevlar patch that day, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And reposition her
Yeah, they put all the
flipped up
skulls
to
back
some
together.
skull.
Yeah. You can see how crooked her nose is.
Wow. Yeah. Clearly,
Everything's just
she's enduring
lopsided
so much
now, and
pain. So, Paul, I want you to. I know that this is very difficult for both Krystal and Brandon to rehash, but tell me about your advocacy for, Sweet Pea when you picked this up and really started to fight for her.
Yeah, first of all, you know what? I just want to thank Captain Rountree because it's often, we do not often see a law enforcement officer sitting there next to the victims, right? And and you see and you feel that this man is 150% behind Sweet Pea. I mean, if we could replicate him, and if we could replicate maybe Sheriff Wayne Ivey of the Brevard County Sheriff's Office, who's really tough on animal
I love
crime,
him.
we would love that. I mean, it's such a sad, horrific story, right? The tears, right? I see so many of these videos each and every day. You talked about laws. Florida has laws, right? We have laws in the country, but the question is, are the laws going to be enforced? So with Sweet Peas, I mean, with Sweet Peas case, it's so similar to so many others across the country. The fact that there is so much animal abuse going on, and it's typical from my experience that it's the animal advocates who get the work done.
Yeah.
We have to essentially, except in this case, thank you, Captain Roundtree. We have to find the situation. We have to be alerted about the situation. We typically find the situation, and then we have to do all the investigative homework, right? Animal advocates are better investigative reporters than those who are on TV. And I can say that having been in the television news industry for 30 years, right? And so they get all the clues together, they get all the information together. They essentially put it in a box, wrap it up, and say, here you go
Yeah.
to authorities. But normally, nothing is done. Normally, nothing is done. And that's the sad part about it, is we not only, as animal advocates, we not only have to fight against the animal abusers, we often have to fight against the police and the sheriff's agencies, whatever law enforcement organization, to say, listen, this is happening right now. We need your help. We know what's happening. Oftentimes our cries are, they fall on deaf ears. And then we have to fight with the district attorneys, the prosecuting attorneys. In Florida, it's the state attorneys to go ahead and get these. Yes, your state attorney, right? To get these lawmakers to actually do something, because oftentimes, we just see a slap on the wrist if we see that. And you talked about the laws in Florida, right? Dexter's law, Trooper's law. You're familiar with Dexter. You all are familiar with Dexter's Law. I covered this since the very beginning. Dexter's Law was that poor dog, brace yourself, trigger warning for this, who was decapitated. And this was in an area that I had grown up in. There's a great dog park there. But this man, Domingo Rodriguez, went ahead and adopted, imagine this, adopted this dog from the shelter. This dog thinks, oh my gosh, I have a forever home. And what happens? Domingo Rodriguez, and I can say this factually because he has been convicted, he was convicted of doing that to that poor dog. The animal advocates there, they were out in force. They really were. At one point, I heard them booing him as he left the courtroom one day. I thought there was a stadium full of people. But it's the animal advocates who pushed it. But let me get to the point here. Sorry, land the plane, right, Paul? The thing is, the state passed Dexter's Law based on that crime, based on Dexter. And now we have the attorneys for Domingo Rodriguez demanding a retrial. How twisted
Wild.
is that? We have Dexter, the case was done, the state named a law after him, and now the guy wants to have their attorney wants to have a retrial. So if he gets off, which is quite the possibility, then what happens to the law? The law was made and signed by Governor DeSantis for a dog, and if and if Rodriguez is not convicted, what does that mean for the law that was put in place for Dexter? That's
Correct.
that is, do you see how, it's like, wait a minute, what part is working with another? Not many. And that, unfortunately, is how how animal abuse continues to happen in this country. It really does.
And it's going to be
because
it's going to be the animal advocates down there that stand there and hold that court system down. It's in, is it Pinellas County?
It's Pinellas County. I grew
Yeah.
up there. Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be the animal advocates that get it done again.
Yeah. And it's interesting because he was convicted and then he was out on bail until the sentencing, until sentencing. And, it's just, it's too often that, the slap on the wrist takes place. If, Erika, if the slap on the wrist actually takes place.
right.
So many of the calls to action we do are ignored.
Charges dropped. Well, that
And
dog
they
that was
shouldn't
burned
be.
alive. They're dropping that charge. You saw that.
Which
It's
one?
a puppy that was burned alive.
Oh, yes. Yes.
They're dismissing that.
Yeah. And there was also, listen to this, there was also, and this is another trigger warning. Sorry, Erika, but these are the cases I deal with. How many of them a day? Dozens. In Hardin County, it was in Kentucky. There was I call them individuals or a monster or a heathen. I don't want to name their names oftentimes because it's like, saying their names is just putting it out there, like identifying a school shooter. You don't want to say the names because you don't want to give them any publicity or anything.
Exactly.
This guy was convicted of, he said there were I had an animal cruelty call. I like to call them animal cruelty calls where I get the person on the phone and I ask them these questions. I talked to him. People were dumping dogs on his property, and he said and he called it effective. The only effective way for people to not stop dumping dogs on his property was to put up a sign, stop, drop dog, right? Stop dropping the dogs. And then, trigger warning, he nailed the dog to the plywood. Investigators say the dog was alive at the time. Prosecutors could not confirm that. They couldn't make it so they proved it to the judge and the jury. It was a 6-year sentence that he could have gotten and a $10,000 fine. Anybody have any ideas on what he actually got? I will say it wasn't a slap on the wrist because he wasn't just let go free. 30 days and a $500 fine for nailing a dog who was still alive, according.
That's outrageous. Do you remember Brendan Evans, who brutally beat and stabbed that pit bull named Ollie in Hollywood, Florida, 50 times? Poor Ollie died 2 days later, and it doesn't end there. Police found animal remains in the freezer, the oven, blood all over the apartment. They accepted a plea deal, and so they lessened the sentence from 17 counts down to 2. He is serving 10 years in jail, but he gets out next year because this happened in 2017. It doesn't end there. I think the biggest thing for me and what really frustrates me is that a lot of people do not understand that it doesn't end with an animal. It didn't start with an animal. This person in particular who did this to Sweet Pea, as I understand it, I don't know the specific charges, but you see things in the news. And from what I understand, he beat an elderly person. That's what I heard. I don't know if
it was
that's
a home invasion, I believe, and it was like an elderly lady.
Correct. I mean, but there you go. It's not just a dog. We have to stop doing that.
I think he was picked up with a machete, like he was chasing someone with a machete another time.
Well, and the thing is, it's unfortunate, and as we all know, that it's the cycle of violence. The studies show this, that most of the time the animal abuser was a victim of abuse at a young age, and they go ahead and say, okay, let me see, how do I continue this, right? The violence. Let me start on something that an animal. They can't tell on me, right? And the thing is, listen to this. I mean, if these animal abusers were prosecuted accordingly, think about this, then the law enforcement and the district attorney, their caseload might be a little slimmer because if they got the person for animal cruelty and if that person paid for the crime and did a substantial amount of time, then they might not have to prosecute a case in which this individual, if you will, may have taken a human's life, because we know it goes from one to the next to the next. Correct. So why not stop this?
I think you make a tremendous point, Paul, with law enforcement. So looking towards the motive, right? The motive in something undone usually isn't as simple as people are just complacent or lazy. Sometimes that's true. Right. Sometimes there's other factors. I think one of the big issues in this particular realm, and I don't want to divert from the interview because I have a ton of questions for you that I'd like to ask. Like, what are some of the things that you guys deal with law enforcement as an excuse to non-action or non-activity?
Yeah.
But conversation for a later day, obviously. But one of the things that occurs to me is that we there, for lack of a better term, there is a blindness to the carrot on the stick for us in this instance, in that from an aspect of broken windows ideology, taking on what you see as a lesser thing prevents the grosser things down the road. There is an aspect of salesmanship for law enforcement and state attorneys in that realm, that should we handle these things now and handle them properly, we don't have this later development of issue or term that we have to expend our resources on. So I think that's an area that people like me, administrators in this role, can start making those adjustments to say, look, we've looked at this poorly in the past, and it's time for us to make those adjustments. I think in y'all's area, just from experience, again, Krystal and Brandon aren't typically people that I would have otherwise had a relationship with, but and I don't mean that, we just our roads don't cross.
We have not gone to a barbecue together.
Yeah, our roads don't cross that often. But
we're vegan,
yeah.
so we're not going to go to a barbecue.
Yeah, but that in some ways there's certain things that I quite frankly was just ignorant to, and so that's been eye-opening in a helpful way, that you can step back and say, like for instance, one of the things we've discussed in the past is, we have in law enforcement, as far as animal responsibilities go, primarily an enforcement response, right? But then once we have an enforcement response, we have this housing of animals and care of animals, and these guys have tremendous resources for what happens next, and why we haven't done a better job of collectively putting those two things together. And then, like we were discussing, that cultural shift in our county, how do we get our county to go from animals are just something cast out in your field until they're a bother to, hey, look, if we do some attention to detail right now with spay, neuter, and shipping programs, then we can shift the need for our animal resources, sheltering, and adoptions down the road. So I think a lot of it is a shift in ideology, a shift in culture, and of course, we certainly have some blame to shoulder in law enforcement and in my profession as well. But I think it's fixable. I really do. I think the conversation, if you can have it and have it calmly, like we are, it definitely is something that can be reparable. So, and for a great cause, I mean, that's the other thing is that, what's at stake. So,
but Captain,
everything.
Captain, wouldn't you agree? Sorry, Eric, I just have to ask him this question.
Yeah.
That my that's the way I am. But Captain, the thing is, though, you, even in this case, you all are up against a fight, because you have to get the the state attorney,
yes, sir,
to go ahead and push those charges. And the sheriff's office, as well as also involved as well. But not everybody is on the same page. And I believe from my homework and my investigation that you seem to be the one who's, all Sweet Pea, but you're up against a lot.
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. And I think Krystal and I have to remind each other of this routinely. While that can be frustrating and emotionally yanking, the goal is this, right?
Yeah.
So somehow we have to keep our head, and I totally agree with what you're saying. There is a hurdle there, but the goal is what we can do to make the correction, and sometimes getting there is the difficulty. Yeah, there's no doubt it's a challenge. It will continue to be a challenge until it shifts. But I think, at least for me, some of that is beginning to take place through conversation. And a lot more frustration. I don't think that's going to be the end of it. I certainly think there will be days where you are hitting me up again going, man, this happened, So, yeah, it's not over by any stretch of the. I mean, she's right where she belongs.
She's got this like indention in her head. I don't know if you can see the side, but it like kind of jots down. There's no skull there. You want me out? Okay, we'll get down.
So it's a soft spot. And what you were explaining to me the other day is that she really can't play with other dogs because it's a soft spot, kind of like a baby gets the soft spot in the back of the head.
So what has happened is part of her skull has died, So she's got that Kevlar there, but there's nothing between her Kevlar and her brain.
Mm.
So we have skin, Kevlar, brain, and Kevlar is it's quite flexible. So now we're looking at, she can't jump, she can't run, she can't play. We have to watch her. You know, she can't. She
And
can't.
she's a puppy.
And she's a puppy. So good luck keeping a puppy still, right? So what we're looking at now, right now, as we're having this interview, we have specialists, Dr. Everest down in West Palm at Access Veterinary Specialists. His team are creating a titanium plate. They're going to go in there. It's going to be a major skull surgery. Her brain will be exposed. So we're going to be back on antibiotics for meningitis. It's going to be about a 12-week recovery time. With the antibiotics, which causes like long-term arthritis problems. So one of the medications they use is called Baytril, and Baytril isn't. You're not able to use Baytril on young dogs, and unfortunately, that's the drug that needs to be used when you're talking about meningitis. So we did try to some other drugs in the beginning to hope that we didn't need to use Baytril, but we did need to use Baytril. So now she's got some arthritis in her one arm. It's not really bothering her right now, but it may in the future. And now the risk goes up as we have to have this other surgery. We're going to be open. Her whole skull is going to be open. Her brain's going to be exposed. We have to take that Kevlar out, put the titanium plate in. She'll be in ICU for 2 to 3 days. I'll stay on site with her. Luckily, Big Dog Ranch Rescue has offered for Sweet Pea and me to stay together in their sanctuary. They have a hospital, and then they have like a dog sanctuary that's for like elderly and hospice dogs. We'll stay there because it's only 6 miles from Access. That way she won't need to stay in a cage under a bunch of bright lights without someone she doesn't know. So we'll be able to stay there, and we'll be able to monitor her with Big Dog Ranch's team with me together. If anything happens, we can rush her right back over to Access. Hopefully nothing will happen, but it's going to be a very long, drawn out surgery. We're looking at a 6 to 8 hour surgery.
Wow. That's a long time. How much is that? Is this surgery not, it's not funded yet, I presume. You're going to need help.
It's not. It's about $14,000.
Wow.
We've already spent an exorbitant amount. We're about 5,000 short right now. So hopefully in the next 6 weeks we can raise that 5,000 for her.
Where can people donate?
There's a GoFundMe up. There's on our website. There's a way to donate on through our website. It's livinglikellarryfs.org. We have Cash App. We have PayPal. PayPal is the big one. That seems to be the one everyone wants to donate through. We have Zelle. We have Venmo. And it's all on Facebook as well. You can find all of our links and everything on Facebook and on our website both.
Okay.
And Erika, you know what, I think it's important to point out right now, and you all are very familiar with this as well. I mean, there are rampant cases of scams going on in the animal advocacy community, where people are using, I know, where people are using videos, and they're saying, this is the animal that we helped. And there are so many people who are so willing to give, but I always tell people that they need to research where their hard-earned money is going to, because not every rescue is reputable. I just came across one the other day.
And just to add to that too, when you're dealing with Facebook links and different things like that, Krystal's page, like other pages, gets attention, and so you get mock links or links that are very close in resemblance to hers, and will redirect you. So make sure that you're dealing with the actual advocacy that you're trying to fund. That's extremely important.
Paul just shut one of those down a couple of weeks ago. Someone jumped on saying there was Sweet Peas, yada yada yada. Remember that? You said
really
taking advantage of Sweet Pea, making money off Sweet Pea. I think you did a story.
The other thing too is when you have the Venmo and the PayPal and everything like that, there are so many scammers out there, and it just disgusts me to see how many people will take advantage and make money off the back of an animal. Especially in Sweet Pea's case. But you know what? You have to be so confident. I mean, you have to really look and be very meticulous about the Venmo account, because they'll just put an extra one in there or a dash, and it looks exactly like it because they'll take the same picture, and people don't know. So, you know what? It is a really risky thing, but the thing is, you have to know exactly what you're looking for. And I would say, even contact the organization. Like Krystal will answer the phone.
Every time.
Right. That
you
way,
do.
you know what? Because like I said, there are so many people who are even in Sweet Pea's case, they see a big case and they'll go, "Ooh, time to make some cash."
Mhm.
How demented and how sick is that?
How sad.
That's where we are today.
That's really sad. I'll have all the links, though, also at the bottom of the show where
Good.
you have the About section in YouTube.
Yeah.
I'll have all those links, and then the links, of course, that go straight to your Facebook channel
Yeah.
as well.
Thank you.
This way they know, specifically where they're going. Brandon, I know we haven't heard a whole lot from you. Do you want to add anything with your whole experience with this? I know.
Is Brandon there?
Yeah. I don't really talk a lot because Krystal definitely has that covered.
Oh.
But I just want to say that Sweet Pea has inspired so much community and
Mhm.
generosity. It's unimaginable.
Yeah.
And like the first day that we met her, we were in All Springs and there was a lady in there, and we walked in there. We were dealing with Sweet Pea and stuff, and we went to the desk to go take care of the bill, and the lady had already paid it. She was walking out the
Oh,
door,
wow.
and
Wow.
the girl behind the desk said, "No, don't worry about it." That lady right there.
Her name
just
was
paid it.
Linda. She was a blonde. She was very kind. I was blown
Yeah.
away. I'm like, I don't even know this
And
lady.
we didn't know her. We never really met her hardly at all. Like, ran out there and thanked her, of course, but
Wow.
that
that's
right
it's
there.
just been like
There's the
that.
kindness. With all the bad in the world, there's
yeah.
the
Oh
good.
yeah.
That
Mhm.
doesn't get aired, though. That didn't make news.
Yes. You know what? It's like, no, the good news. What was it? What is it? You remember this, Erika. If it bleeds,
It leads.
it leads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it doesn't get aired.
That's really wonderful, Brandon. Thank you for even
Yeah.
saying that, for telling us that, because that is wonderful that someone was there to do that.
That's Sweet Pea's whole story right there.
That must have been quite a scene, though, when you guys arrived at All Springs, though, I'm sure.
Just everyone jumped in to help this puppy, like immediately.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, shut up, Brandon. On the way to Avito, my friend said, I want to get a tattoo for you. And she had her tattoo artist draw this up, and
Okay.
so a real good friend of mine passed away, and he always signed his emails with may all beings receive mercy, justice, compassion, and peace.
That's
That's-
beautiful.
That's on our, that's become our motto anyway, years back, in reference to what Fred would always say, and now it's, I mean, every day I see it.
That's really beautiful. What a kind gift.
That's the first time that I've seen Krystal let the walls down.
You can only be strong for so long
True.
before you can't. I mean, the magnitude of this in particular, you and Brandon handle so much with your sanctuary as it is. And then the magnitude of Sweet Pea, it's just, you got to let it out at some point, because my goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's just in the shower at night, every night. Gosh,
God.
it's just so frustrating because we have court on Thursday, and I'm like, one, is the sheriff going to come try to, bully us into moving, because he's whatever. And then two, is Rodon going to stand there and be a complete jackass during the hearing? Is the judge going to allow it? Is his attorney going to try to hide it so that the judge doesn't see it? And then we roll right into the trial coming up on the 26th.
Wow. When you usually do post videos.
Prosecution is asking for the maximum of 5 years in prison, but they're also asking on top of that for the habitual offender, which if he takes this to trial, he's looking at 30 to 40 years. Woo! Justice for Sweet Pea! Justice for Sweet so neither of those work. Ted's not guilty, and then we're going to post dates for the next pre-trial. We need to be here every time. Save your t-shirts, save your buttons, save the dates. As soon as I have them, you all will have them. We need to be here every time. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Change starts here. Change starts here. Change starts here. Change starts here.
And at least anyone watching this can go to your Facebook channel. They can see the videos and the live feeds that you post when you're out there. And I presume if they want to join you, it's usually very peaceful, but you make a presence. You make a presence out there. And that's what needs to happen. If you didn't make a presence, this would go away, like we've been discussing. What was your saying again? Silence
hides violence, and that's what it's
silence hides violence.
I think it's important to point out, though, Krystal, even by going out there, you and the supporters are still met with a brick wall.
That's true.
We had Sheriff St. John come out there, and he actually lied. I ended up Facebook living because I assumed I was going to be arrested because he's an idiot. But he came out and he said, "Well, Judge Griffith called me and said," because I asked him directly. I said, "Who called you?" He said, "We've had complaints." I said, "Who?" And this is on a Facebook Live, and he says, "Well, Judge Griffith said that it was disruptive." And I later find out that that wasn't the case. That Judge Griffith had nothing to do with it. So, and since then, I've been served with paperwork from the court that I'm not allowed on the courthouse steps, that I'm not allowed impeding traffic. We're not impeding traffic. The courthouse steps, the steps go across the entire building. We're not blocking it. If our entire group stood shoulder to shoulder to shoulder to shoulder, we wouldn't block it. It's that large. And it's all right to be on the steps, so we continue to be on the steps. We did do right after that. I did order about 4 dozen Guy Fawkes masks, and no one spoke. We just all wore Guy Fawkes masks and signs, and I think that made everyone more nervous than us talking.
I'm impressed they know what that is.
I mean, but look at that though. They're on public property, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a courthouse, right? And they're being told that you're impeding. Listen, you know this as well as I too, Erika. You can't be there. Oh, yes, we can. It's public property. It's not private property.
People's house,
But
right?
still, they're out there protesting, and you have these loud trucks and cars coming by.
Right.
They're louder than the people protesting.
Right.
And it's like, wait a minute, it's still another roadblock. Even though court is in session, we're up against another roadblock.
That's the interesting part. So our rallies are between 8 a.m. to 8:30 because at that time we put a pause on everything. We stopped the rally because we all want to go inside wearing our Justice for Sweet Pea t-shirts that are pretty graphic. I mean, her eyes hanging out of this picture. It's a pretty graphic picture. And we all we fill up the first 2 rows of the courtroom. So we actually, when we're doing our rally, court isn't even in session.
Yeah.
It's from 8 to 8:30. Court starts at 8:30. We shut down at 8:30 and all go inside.
The fight continues.
There you go.
Yeah.
She loves you. Look at her looking.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I'm saying.
Can you see? I don't know if you can see the picture up there.
Yeah.
Sweet Pea used to be like this
You see
big.
that? I don't know if you can see this up here.
What is that plaque, though? What does it say? We can see it. I don't know what it says, though.
Yeah.
Will it come down?
Oh gosh, I about dropped it on my head. Here, show that to the camera.
Okay.
I'm not. There we go. Oh, thank you, Captain Rountree and the dedicated Live Oak Police Department. That's beautiful.
It is nice. But look how small she is there.
Yeah, she was so tiny.
She was tiny there.
Hey, wow.
She's no longer tiny. She's huge.
Yeah.
She has no, but
They get bigger too, I presume.
little bit. But so one thing that's kind of sad with her is her brain development stopped at 10 weeks. So we're dealing with a dog that's getting larger and larger and larger, but we're still dealing with a 10-week-old puppy. Right. So we're dealing with 10-week-old puppy house training where we watch for cues to go potty because she's going to still have accidents. We're dealing with 10-week-old puppy who wants to romp and jump and play and has coordination problems because of her disabilities. She can't ever do stairs. We had to build an entire deck to have a long enough ramp with the right gradient to get her in and out. She's at heightened risk for meningitis. I don't know if you can see how crooked her nose is
Yeah.
to
I
her
love
face.
it.
Yeah.
I love it.
But
Aw.
so
It's
So
gonna
she's
create
so
dental
she's
problems.
missing she's just creates dental problems, but also she's missing part of her bone that would separate her brain from the outside world. So she's at heightened risk for meningitis. So she doesn't get to run and jump and play in the pool with the other dogs. She has to be on AstroTurf. So we've had to build an entire play area just for Sweet Pea that has a ramp and AstroTurf that we have to constantly disinfect. Um, that sort of thing. Anywhere she goes, we go ahead of time and we Virkon S, so we disinfect areas.
Mhm.
She's got what else? She can't swallow. She can't have any. She's never going to have dog treats. She's never going to have a cookie.
Oh.
If she has a birthday cake, it's going to be the consistency. We have to put it in a
It's gonna be
blender.
like pudding.
Yeah. So she has to lick it. She can't even eat like soft dog food. It has to be like pate, like really watered down pate. She can't
Pate.
swallow correctly. So yeah, and it's difficult, because people see such a happy, like when we're on Facebook Live, the people see her at the sanctuary jumping and running and playing and being in my lap. They don't see all of these disabilities that she has to deal with every day. That she can't jump and play. She can't, we have other dogs, like she can play with Huckleberry because Huckleberry is 9 pounds, but we still have to be within like hands on to like move him if he's trying to jump over by her head or anything of that nature. Because if she gets hit right here, she's
Yeah.
gone. She's
Yeah.
gone that fast.
My
So it's a lot to shoulder every day in and day out. And she doesn't know any different. Like this is just
Perfect.
this is her.
Right.
She doesn't the saving grace is the maggot wrapped her in a blanket, so she didn't see anything coming. She
She doesn't associate pain with
was a
people.
little bit afraid because he was probably yelling or whatever. Then he wrapped her in a blanket and she was confused and she was in pain but didn't know why. So she didn't see a person attack her. So, and she doesn't have any recollection, of course.
Krystal, the next date is Thursday, January
Thursday.
15th,
Mhm.
8 a.m. at the courthouse.
Yes.
What is
And
it?
That's the
Um,
next rally.
Oh, okay.
And
now,
his,
why will he be in court?
That's his final hearing before trial.
status
Okay.
hearing.
It's like a status hearing before trial.
And then the trial is the 25th, I think you said. 26th.
26.
sure.
26.
Okay. Okay.
Her birthday party is the 24th. You put that on your calendar too.
Mhm.
Wait, a day before the trial?
2 days before the trial. Her birthday party is a Saturday. Trial starts on Monday.
How interesting is that?
Wow.
Her birthday, 2 days later, the guy who tried to allegedly, as we know, because he's not convicted yet, the guy who
Allegedly.
tried to allegedly kill her is going to be in court for doing that.
Yeah.
2 days before. It's her birthday. Sweet Pea, 1. Eric rolled in, none.
0.
It's a great
No.
way to put it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Boy, did he mess up. But I'm
Yeah.
going to have every link that you need. Yep, Paul, you wanted to say something.
You know what? And I just want to say, I just want to say thank you because by doing this podcast, you are making more people aware of what's going on with the animals. There are so many people in our country, in our world, that are not familiar with all of the horrific animal abuse that's taking place even as we speak right now. And it's any time that we're able to get the message out that there are animal abuse crimes, that there are animal abusers out there. You know what? We take that opportunity because this is not about just, furthering the mission to get these animal abusers, to make them pay for their crimes. It's also about getting the message out there. Hey, this is happening. You probably don't want to see the videos, but we need to let you know this is happening. And we also need to let you know, stop using the breeders because the breeders are one of the biggest problems when we have this overpopulation. And hey, spay and neuter your animals at the same time, right? By putting this awareness out there, we're educating, and that's the hope. So that when people hear about these cases, they're not necessarily surprised and they'll stand behind the animal advocates to fight against the abuser.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. That was a perfect way to put it. So thank you.
Yeah.
That was, very well said. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy.
One of the dogs is having a dream right now. Sorry.
That's so cute. We're such animal lovers. It is very hard to take in when someone does something like this. And
Yeah.
again, it happens way too often. And that is a big part of why I wanted to do this podcast. It's just one more outlet. I know that, Krystal, you were on Good Morning America, I think you said. And I mean, clearly that got nationwide views, but I want to also hit this at the local level and share more about what is happening. So I'm very grateful that you all came on. Thank you to Captain Rountree, Krystal, and Brandon. And of course, Paul Mueller, you've been great. I mean, through it all. So thank you. Thank you for being on with us for as long as we've been on. Thank you.
Dude.
And again, I'll have all of those links up for everything we need.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Erika.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day and be kind.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.